So thank you for the kind invitation. I'm honored to be here and to share my work with you. And I'm really looking forward to get an interesting discussion and feedback. Just yes, share. Good. So when I've got this invitation to come here and to present about gender and religion, mainly about gender and religion and women in religion, was quite a challenge for me because I started looking about women leadership in religion, and the information was rather scarce. It is not so much that you can find, especially if you think of religion, Christian, Muslim, all these big religion that are very influential nowadays. So first of all, I start looking for topics for articles on women leadership in religion, and I learned that, well, there is a big difference between Europe and United States, that in United States, you can really talk about women leadership in religion because the Protestant religion is more open and there are many women involved in leading religious groups. Well, that's not the case in Europe, and this is where my research question started. So does religion impede women leadership? To what extent this is true if we look to Europe? And to what extent this, what is wrong?
It's not actually showing up for the people on there.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. So to what extent can we talk about this in different religious settings? And if this influence of religion on women leadership changes over time? So I think one of the main differences that is actually framing the the women involvement in politics in Europe has to do with this strong connection between religion and family life. And it is already well known that most of the traditional religious denominations are strongly connected with traditional families. They support each other, so family socializes children into religious values and make sure that there is a new generation of belonging to the religious group, while religious institutions are socializing children and are instilling in observant people traditional family values because they need family to survive and to get to the next generation. So there is a strong correlation between the two of them, and when one is powerful, when religion is powerful, then probably traditional gender norms will be in place and they will shape women's life. So what is different then in America and in United States and Europe? Because we know that United States are more religious than many countries in Europe. So why can we talk about religious leaders among women in the United States and we cannot do the same about Europe. And I think there are two reasons for that. One of them, I already talked about it. It's about a high share of mainline Protestant denominations in United States, which are open to non-traditional family patterns and gender norms. Another reason is that the size of religious market, because in United States, there is a big religious market. There are many congregations competing on it, and religious denominations or religious groups try to be more attractive towards people just to get many supporters. Well, this fact is different in Europe, because in Europe, most of the countries are almost or quasi-religious monopolies. So there is a main religious denomination in a country, and the other religious groups are very small shares on the religious market. So there is no competition. And on the top of this, women are by default more religious than men. So as they are coming to the church anyway, why to make religious and religious life in the church more attractive towards women? So on the one side, we have the lack of religious competition, which blocks women to get more support from the side of, get more support on gender equality from the side of the church. As you can see, there is not so much diversity. So this is the map, religious map of Europe with the main religious denomination. So Western Europe, as everyone knows, it's mainly Catholic, and then the northern part, it's Protestant. And if we go more to east, then we have Christian Orthodox and Muslims. And why is that relevant? Is relevant because not all these religious denominations have the same approach towards gender roles and towards family life. And we somehow already know that Muslims are very conservative, but we also know that Orthodox, Christian Orthodox are also very conservative in all the respects of human life. If we compare now the different denominations, we can see that among Protestants there is more opening towards non-traditional gender norms, and that also open the door for women to get more powerful position within the religious group. While if we talk about Catholic, Orthodox, or Muslims, the things are different. And if we strictly refer to Catholic and Orthodox, yes, there are some women having position of leaders in their religious groups, but they are rather nuns. So there are nuns, and the message that people can learn out of it is that women can be leaders only in extraordinary circumstances. This is not something for daily life. This is something for a very special type of life. So this is another way in which religious institutions are somehow blocking the women leadership, not those who are nuns, but the others. Well, the good news is that secularization is higher in Europe as compared to United States and many other places in the world, which led to a change over time and freed women of their traditional obligation and help changing the gender norms. So basically part of the fact that women got leadership position, not in religious groups, but in politics and in daily life in Europe, came from the fact that religion lost its power over social life and family. So gender revolution was possible in Europe due to secularization, not due to the internal change, the inner change of women position within the religious groups. So as secularization progresses in Europe, we expect to see that traditional gender norms will go down, and then women are free to get stronger position both within the religious groups and in power in general. And to check that, I used data coming from World Value Survey and European Value Studies, which allows me to compare over a period of 10 to 15 years. And I particularly looked at the connection between main religious indicators and support for women as political leaders. So this is what I do. So now I will show you some nice maps about religious change over 10-15 years in Europe. So as you see, in 1999, Western Europe was more secularized, and it is almost the same even today. So the secularization went in the expected direction. Religious lost its influence in daily life. But if we look to Eastern Europe, the things are different, and we can somehow notice dark blue colors in the eastern part as compared to western part. If we look to the 2017 data collection. Almost the same is happening regarding church attendance. So it was a regress in church attendance in Western Europe, but we can see an increase in church attendance, for instance, in Ukraine and other countries in Eastern Bloc. Now, if we look to how this somehow not reflects, but what we can see about change in support for women leadership. Well, the good news that the things are not so much change over time, but my main point is not if they change together, but if the connection between religious indicators and support for women leadership change over time. I won't go further in methodological details, but I will just try to briefly show you some results. So on the right panel, we have the impact of different variables on support for the statement, men make better political leaders. And now if we look, the green bar is the value of this association in 2017-2020, so that was the last wave of data collection, while the blue bars are for the previous data collection in 2005-2007. So, as we expected, most of the religious indicators have a strong impact on support for men make better political leaders. So if you are a religious person and if you go to church, you will rather say that politics is for men, not for women. Same holds true if you are a Catholic and if you were a Protestant in 2005-2007. Yeah. And of course, if you are a Muslim, you are going to support this statement too. Now, this is what I expected. What I didn't expect it to find is that these indicators, this association and this impact of religion on women leadership, attitudes towards women leadership grew higher over time. And as you can see, the green bars are higher in 2017 as compared to 10 years before, a decade before. So that means that instead of diminishing the impact of religion on women empowerment, the things are going on the opposite direction. Yeah, at least in the case of general religiosity, in the case of Muslim, and in the case of Catholic, there is not so much change. But there are some important changes. So in case of Protestants and in case of Orthodox, the things change over the 10 years. So the influence of belonging to this denomination was weaker in the last wave as compared to the previous one. So honestly, I was surprised that instead of finding out that religion is not blocking the way of, the path of women to get into politics and to get into leadership position, I found the opposite. And my guess is that this is due to the cultural polarization that was mentioned by Professor Norris previously. So my guess is that while those who are not affiliated and they are atheists are becoming more and more gender supportive, let's say, and they will be more in favor of women in politics, while those who have closer ties to religion, if they are not Protestants, but if they are Catholics or they are Muslims, they will become even more and more against women in politics. But that's something that I'm going to investigate further, and I would like very much to get feedback and suggestions and ideas from the audience. Thank you very much.